And I now recognize Ranking Member Ramirez for her opening comments.
Thank you, Chair Kiggins. Today's hearing's topic is critically important. We are examining the use and the oversight of the quote-unquote 3R incentives at VA: recruitment, retention, and relocation bonuses. The so-called 3Rs help VA attract talent. Earlier this month, Secretary Collins celebrated the VA will lose nearly 30,000 employees by the end of the fiscal year. I find that despicable. I want to be clear. Every VA employee is mission critical. Every VA employee ensures veterans get the care and benefits they've earned and deserve. So if we care about veterans' care and services, it is more important than ever that we discuss how the VA keeps employees, as Secretary Collins deconstructs, decimates, and demoralizes the workforce. Veteran care is already being negatively impacted by the destruction of the VA workforce. For instance, we know that doctor appointments for veterans have been canceled due to staffing shortages, and we know this because veterans have told us themselves. So how do we course correct? How do we ensure the VA has the workforce it needs to support the care veterans have earned and deserve? First, we have to ensure that the VA is a place where people feel valued, not disposable, and not attacked. As a former executive director of a nonprofit organization, I know that public sector agencies like the VA and nonprofit organizations cannot compete with the private sector in terms of salary in many places across the country. In tough markets, 3R incentives help make VA offer more competitive wages. They're a tool to attract and retain highly qualified employees to the agency. I understand that this hearing is meant to focus on the VA Inspector General's findings from a report released earlier this summer that the VA needs more oversight of 3R incentives. I do not disagree that the VA must be a good steward of taxpayer dollars and that we must ensure that the correct employees are receiving the correct pay for the correct period of time. No objection, no disagreement there. At the same time, we must ensure that the VA's oversight of the 3R's incentives does not make them a more burdensome and less useful tool for leaders who need them to recruit and to retain staff. We need to hold two objectives at the same time. The process must work and it must allow it to be competitive by working quickly and efficiently. If we do not meet both of these goals, I fear that greater layers of bureaucracy may disincentivize leaders from offering 3R awards. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses today about how we can strike a balance to ensure 3R incentives are being used properly, efficiently, and routinely. I'm going to show a series of posters with data pulled directly from the VA's workforce dashboard published on June 27th, 2025. Numbers don't lie. We can see here a sharp decline in both recruitment and retention since Secretary Collins took the helm. The VA has seen an over 45% reduction in job applicants this year compared to last year. VA saw an over 56% reduction in new employees actually starting jobs. The VA lost 4,144 employees in mission-critical occupations as defined by the VA since the beginning of this fiscal year. Compare that to the Biden administration only losing 111 employees in mission-critical occupations during the same period in 2024. And as if losing 4,100 employees in VA-designated mission-critical occupations wasn't bad enough, I want you guys to take a closer look at how many employees Secretary Collins has lost in some key veteran-facing roles. To be clear, these numbers are not net losses. They're net losses, not just normal attrition. The numbers we are looking at account for any new hires. And again, these are positions that are not subject to the hiring freeze and were exempt from the DRP. So what you're seeing is that since the start of this fiscal year, the VA has lost a net of 1,720 registered nurses, 1,147 medical support assistants, 604 physicians, 193 police officers, 77 psychologists, 358 social workers, 1,081 veteran claim examiners, 868 custodial workers. So by its own data, the VA has had over 7,500 employees in veteran-facing roles leave their jobs this fiscal year, and their positions have not been backfilled. So how can Secretary Collins look at us and at veterans with a straight face and say that veterans' care has not been affected by staffing changes when he's lost at least 7,500 veteran-facing employees? The numbers we're looking at and their impact on veteran care is upsetting. And if you're not mad yet, just take a look at our next poster so we can get a sense of why these employees have left the VA. Reasons for leaving, a series of concerns, for example, geographical relocation, desired work schedule not offered, lack of trust and confidence in senior leaders, again, lack of trust and confidence in senior leaders from social workers. Medical and dental are talking about the work schedule offered doesn't work for their ability to serve the veterans. And then you see over and over and over, lack of trust and confidence in senior leaders, lack of trust and confidence in senior leaders. And you also see here from contracting officers, unethical behavior on the part of leadership or the organization. That's why medical and dental, general administration, psychologists, social workers, HR specialists, HR assistants, cemetery caretakers, veterans claim exam, processing personnel, contracting officers, and IT specialists are leaving. Any quality leader I know who got this feedback in their exit interview would do some serious self-reflection. But the VA has a failure of leadership crisis, and Secretary Collins is to blame. Secretary Collins accuses us of fear-mongering and lying when we raise the alarm that veteran care is being impacted, but these numbers don't lie. There's just no possible way that VA could lose 7,500 veteran-facing employees without care being impacted. The Secretary could turn the ship around to attract and retain more employees to care for veterans, and the 3R incentives are one of those tools. But he isn't, because he doesn't want to turn the ship around. He's committed to destructive collision course. Let's look at the dashboard even closer. Just take a look at the reduction in the use of PACT Act authorities like recruitment and retention incentives from year 2024 to year 2025. Last year, during the Biden administration, retention incentives were used nearly 20,000 times. This year, under Collins and Trump, only 7,000 times. Recruitment incentives were used 6,000 times in year 2024, but they've barely used them 1,000 times this year. And take a look at this number. Special contribution awards. These are used when a VA employee goes above and beyond the call of duty when caring for veterans. When Biden was president, nearly 30,000 special contribution awards were given to VA employees. Under Collins, barely 7,000 awards have been made. Here's the bottom line. It's not that VA employees are less meritorious than they were under Biden. It's that no matter what the VA employees do, they will never really receive 3R awards, because the Trump administration, through Secretary Collins, wants them to leave. They want every employee to be pushed out so they can decimate the VA's workforce and destroy it in order to justify privatizing the VA. Secretary Collins has made VA employees his target, and in doing so has targeted veterans who rely on VA for their care and benefits. So yes, it is more important than ever that we do everything we can to keep VA employees working and caring for our veterans. Secretary Collins' tenure at the VA has been one of torment. For months, VA employees have worried they would lose their jobs and livelihood through a RIF. Now, while Secretary Collins promises that a quote-unquote large-scale RIF is off the table for the time being, we all remain concerned that if he is leaving the door open to eliminate positions through the reorganization and consolidation. And veterans worry that their service and care will be impacted by the changes in the VA workforce. Well, veterans are right. How can we expect to provide high-quality services through a robust, talented workforce under these kind of conditions? But again, the instability, the uncertainty, the volatility is the point. Veterans deserve a VA that they can rely on, and Secretary Collins is undermining the VA and its workforce at every chance he gets. It is why I look forward to our conversation today and hearing from our witnesses, and with that, I yield back.